It's AWTITUDE representing for Lion's Voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes, and we rain and roll like this. Rain and roll, yeah. Selassie, I rain and roll. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we no Selassie rain and roll. Rain and roll. Selassie, I rain and roll. Queen Omega drop them in the fire. Pull from them, no Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence. Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence. Flash of all sevens. Projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and overstanding. Yeah, we hear Jah every day. Rain and roll, yeah. Selassie, rain and roll. Yes, I lion vibes. Selassie, rain and roll. Attitude say that. Boondocks, Black Organization of Global Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world. Tiluo, tilie.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
That would lead us into the late 80s in Boston, Massachusetts, where I was conceived. My mother, coming from the hills of Clarendon, Jamaica. My father is from the island of Montserrat, in the Leeward Islands there. So both of them had migrated to Boston, Massachusetts, here on the east coast of the US. They came together. I was the second of the eventually 3 children. And being born and raised here was really both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in the sense that as an infant, I developed a neurological condition called epilepsy, for which I was medicated until the age of about 12. And, you know, growing up in a very Caribbean community, a lot of people don't associate Boston with Black people, period, much less Caribbean people. But this is one of the main Caribbean satellite cities in the US on the Eastern Seaboard.
Yes, it is.
So I had the privilege of having access to some of the best medical institutions on the planet. For those who don't know, Boston is basically a hub for medical advancement. And those medical interventions I received allowed me to stabilize and, you know, manage the epilepsy. But it came along with a culture that at that time, you know, there was no such thing as therapy. There's no such thing as asking a child how they're processing, dealing with essentially their mortality, because I wasn't not getting much information. So in my mind, you know, any day, any night, my nervous system could betray me, and that could be it for me. And, you know, Rastafari consciousness entered into my ideation from a young age. And from that time, I would say Rastafari has even been a bridge into other forms of African spirituality, which I've been bringing over time as well. So that is a sort of an overview, but the musical journey, again, is an ancestral tradition of which I find myself being the custodian at this time. I'm a multiple Grammy-winning songwriter. I come from a lineage of songwriters. My father, from the island of Montserrat, is a recording artist by the name of Supreme. He can even be found on YouTube. His music is still out there. There's one song known as Emerald City Jam that is, you know, a legendary carnival song that plays every year to this day. And his uncle who trained him is the songwriter behind one of the biggest hits that the Caribbean has ever given to the world, from the island of Montserrat, which, you know, you might recognize. Ole, 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 me heart on fire, me soul on fire, feeling hot, hot, hot. I think it was an inherent sense of cognitive dissonance as a very inquisitive youth, dealing with the deep existential questions. You know, having to deal with my mortality at such an early age made me quite serious about the spiritual realm from early on. And I was looking at the Pentecostal institution around me, which some Jamaicans might recognize. I was born into Church of God of Prophecy, which is still active in the island. I've seen it up until recently. And I was looking around and thinking about some of these restrictions because one of the battlegrounds was this. You know how one is allowed to wear their crown. You know, it was almost cult like in the sense that no jewelry was allowed. You're not allowed to go to the movies. Like a lot of things of the world
Yes.
were basically outlawed. But I'm looking at this room full of African people, and they're wearing hair that doesn't belong to them, and they're penalizing people for wearing the hair that grows out of their head. Yet they're teaching you that we are beautifully and wonderfully made. There's just so many contradictions I was witnessing that I began to ask questions and look deeper. Of course, there's a deep influence from the music. I would say artists like, of course, Bob was the first Rastafari consciousness I was exposed to.
Yes.
Growing up in the 90s, you had Sizzler, you had Capleton, you had Garnet Silk, you had so many people chanting that message, Buju Banton.
Yes.
And also we cannot eliminate the hip hop aspect as well. There's a lot of really great conscious hip hop that was around at the time. So just knowledge of self was always of interest to me. And as I look deeper into the foundation, Ethiopia, the Nile Valley, and the continent overall, I knew within myself, obviously still being a minor, I cannot just do what I want to do. So I said, all right, well, when I left the yard, first thing. And I've never turned away from the path since them time there. So the first place I ever recorded actually was at Charmax Studio, which is on the property of Max Romeo. It's his home studio. And from this on now, I began spending more time in town in Kingston, and it was really eye-opening for me when I began spending time in Kingston that the works that I've been doing from here, actually in this very room here in Boston, had preceded me. Because I've been chanting Rastafari name from, years and years prior to physically present in the scene. So there are a lot of artists I was encountering that, not even just artists, just people that were aware of the work that in a way that I wouldn't have even anticipated. But at the same time, I think with the consistency of the different rhythms that I've voiced, compilation singles, I've released 3 albums under my previous name, as I'm MediSun now, formerly known as King Mas. So there's 3 albums under that.
King Mas.
King Mas, yeah.
Okay.
So in the time that even Sabuki and I link up would have been within the King Mas era. So and I
you have to give it the heights behind that name, the King Mas, because what was the inspiration for that name?
So believe it or not, we all know the popular DJ Massacre. Originally, I was known as Massacre, the Boston Massacre. And the reason why I chose the name Massacre coming from Boston is if you know the history of this country, that one of the inciting incidents that sparked the American Civil War was an incident that took place here called the Boston Massacre. And the first person to give his life and their blood shed for the concept of America is a man by the name of Crispus Attucks, who was of African descent.
Yes.
The first person to ever shed blood for America was a black man. And when I learned that fact, that inspired the original name. And of course, as Rasta, as I was growing into Rasta, people were already saying, King, yes, King Mas. So the name was given. Now at the same time, when the DJ, was, we were both ascending at the same time, they say, even the energy, what I word they carry, I feel like let me move from it into a more royal energy in terms of how I'm presenting. And at the same time, I was reasoning with that one on a different stream and a younger artist that was influenced by what I was doing, unbeknownst to me.
Yes.
And he was saying that he witnessed that change and it inspired him as well, as he recently underwent a name change, and how it represents also the natural evolution of many a warrior along the journey. Because when I want to awaken from the slumber of the programming that comes along with Babylonian growing or living, the first response is wrath and anger, and you want to put on everything.
Yes.
So you pass through the warrior era, and then eventually you step into your divine rulership and leadership era, and then transcend into almost like the guru or the sage. I don't see myself moving from that space, because I'm not just an artist in the sense of being a performer. I'm a composer. I play guitar. I've written songs and continue to write for a lot of others. And
can you tell us some of the Grammy nominated songs that you have credits for?
Should I take this off the wall? One of the Grammys is on the wall there. And that is
no, sorry, Mr. Grammy nominated, but you get Grammy too.
Not nominated, no, yeah, winning 2 times.
Winning 2 times. You see that? What were the 2 songs?
One of them is Perform and Done, which was on the Strictly Roots album with Morgan Heritage. Big up Morgan Heritage for them there. And
big up.
More recently, the Calling album with Kabaka Pyramid. I'm both a composer and a songwriter on that title song, The Calling. So what you hear Stephen Marley singing, brute force on the front line, Rastafari, call you, call you, call you. Yeah, that's hard to say for the King Mass era. So long ago I can't really say, but I would say on the MediSun, the first big release, something for the Empress.
Okay.
Special request to me, Caribbean Queen. Woman, say you are every man dream. Your coconut kiss it and make me match drip intellect connect lit like the chalice where I steam highly with my Empress men and by my side. Wickedest right got me wishing this time would I never end sweet like a licorice pipe. Legit I make height like a split she ignite. What a way, me say, what a way. Feel like me hit the jackpot in the lottery. This is my lucky day. Me buck a pretty Anna K. University graduate. Still she got a lot of grades. Why? Cause the herb she never shorter. Woman, I know you've been hurt, but now you're smarter. Bring the whole of your love in my quarters. Enough left for me yard, me say for far one. And I say, we you. As a matter of fact, let me do this.
I am Bingy. Exclusive. Hold on. At the big international Lion voice, I want the them sister. And the first man pick up a guitar, history I make right here. So all right.
I like. And I say, we you. Anytime you hear the sound, you know what's going down. Lion's voice. And I say, officer, what are you searching for? Is it something illegal? Or is it standard procedure? Anyway, you cite the Congo dread. Discrimination. Anyway, you cite the Congo dread. License and registration. Why? A whole lot of ones them are move in the same general direction, which is to the east.
Highly.
Yeah, so that's the thing there. And of course, being a parent as well, thinking about my child's development and her ability to grow free from some of the pollution that my generation was exposed to, with our parents not being as aware of, what is in the food, what is in the water, what is in the air, what is in the educational institutions that they're sending us to. I want to do everything that I can to make sure that, High Princess Foundation is rooted and grounded in Rastafari liberty, not just teachings, but actually practice on a daily basis. Even if you look at the modern nation states of Africa, many of these individual nations contain more people than the entire Caribbean, not just Jamaica alone. So people who say they want to bust a Jamaica or in America or certain places, of course, we have to always deal with our root and our foundation and the community around us. This is wise, but to overlook places like Kenya, which is a nation of, I think, nearly 50 million people, and the love that they have for Jamaica, for Rastafari, and for reggae music, it's
unparalleled. Yes, I tell people, Chronix bus in Kenya before Kingston.
Absolutely, big up ZJ Heno, and the celebrities over there fighting for the music on that side. Zimbabwe again, the biggest genre in Zimbabwe is dancehall. Zim dancehall. They have their own indigenous music with the mbira and all their traditional sounds, but the youth them right now at dancehall, they must study. They want to be dancehall artists, and of course with Bob being there for that inaugural celebration, the impact of Rastafari is massive. So Rastafari truly govern the earth, not only in the continent. There's nowhere on this planet that I've been as Rasta where people, don't have it's polarizing. It can go either way,
Yeah.
but 9 times out of 10, I
Yeah. I respect.
And there's one thing I want to say in addition, because again I've had the blessing and the privilege. So for those who are not aware, my mentor in the music is Barry Salmon. I spent
Okay.
a lot of time around Barris, and so one of my brothers through that association is Popcorn.
Okay.
Spent a good amount of time around Skull, and when we check it out, how the man actually live and how the dancehall man them generally live,
Yeah.
enough of them live more like Rasta than Rasta
Wow.
in terms of togetherness, in terms of actually linking with them one another, and there's no competition, there's no, there's, there's no suspicion amongst the collective. One them just a link, and they might not even make music, they might run boat and just live.
Okay.
So I think that there's layers to that line, man. I live like Rasta. And when I remember watching the video, and actually I noticed that there were a good handful of cameos from other artists that
Yes.
some
Yeah.
look and
Yeah.
say that
That was
these are his competition, but he's viewing them as these are my peers.
exactly.
And so we live. And the other end is that these press runs oftentimes are done with the intention of getting in front of the eyes and ears of promoters.
Yes.
And where are all the festivals being held? Mostly in Europe and
Europe
America.
or California. Yeah.
So, like I, as a Rasta man now, it's as if I can no longer afford to even be the voice of the voiceless, and to even speak what is happening within the community or within the nation, because of the fear of backlash or the fear of not getting certain opportunities because you're being, as the great Peter Tosh would have said, is it too black for them?
It's true.
Maybe.
True. So,
The name is MediSun, not medicine. There's no sin in the operation. MediSun. I can be found at MediSun Music on all social platforms, and at MediSunmusic.com as well. Anyone who wants to reach out directly, my contact info is on that website. And all I would say is be good to yourselves, be good to the people around you. Slow down. Don't allow the system to dictate the pace of how you're living, because presence and awareness is the greatest gift we can give to the people around us, which is really truly reverence. Because once we have reverence for the simple things around us, then we will know reverence for the Most High.
The year is 1892, and the land of Ethiopia has been experiencing 4 years of terrible famine and drought. They call it the Kikuken, or the evil days. At least 1/3 of the human population and 90% of the cattle have died. The hyenas have feasted on so many carcasses that they have become overweight and barely able to move. Just when the people could take no more of the evil days, a woman named Wasiro Yeshimabet is giving birth in a place called Erjersa Gora. This is her 9th attempt to bring forth new life. Her previous 8 attempts only resulted in death. Will this child live? Thankfully, a healthy baby boy is born. His first cries are drowned by thunder and lightning flashes across the night sky. The heavens open up and torrential rain starts to fall. Ethiopia's drought is over, and the baby boy is given the name Tabara, meaning one to be feared or respected. Rastafari's father, Ras McCunnan, is a very important man in 1892 Ethiopia. Although he is overjoyed at the birth of his newborn son, he cannot spend much time with him. Ras McCunnan is the governor of Harar and must get back to the famous walled city to deal with its affairs. Furthermore, he is the foreign minister of Ethiopia, and having traveled to different places in Europe, he is very aware of the material and military advances they have made and the looming threats they pose to his country. Ras McCunnan knows that the majority of Ethiopians have no idea what is coming, and that he has to work that much harder to secure the realm. Rastafari would grow up to become the legendary emperor, Haile Selassie I. To understand his journey, we must first understand the Ethiopia that he was inheriting. and what it was like when he was born in 1892. Get your copy of Kwesi Bansu's book, Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1, The Rise of the Priestly Warrior Kings, and increase your knowledge about the history, politics, and culture of Ethiopia in 1892, and how it connects to the rest of African and world history at the time. Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1 is available for purchase at www.bookmanexpress.pub. Please visit for more information.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwesi Bansu, aka Chasmach Kwesi, aka Ras Kwesi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk. Welcome to Lion Talk and welcome to the Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. Today we have a guest who has distinguished himself on the battlefield of music and also philanthropy, doing powerful works, exemplifying the teachings of His Imperial Majesty, taking Rastafari to new heights and far heights. I really give thanks for the link with this brethren. I have to big up a man like Saboki, all the Life Yard family, for making the link to this brethren. And, you know, I really give thanks because sometimes I'm out of the loop. They I them know we do so much work. So when I heard about this brethren now, I go up on YouTube and the amount of video will pop up, you know what I mean? It's not no artist with just a try a thing. You see brethren with Barris and Jesse Royal, you see the man know people. So we're gonna hear about the journey. We're gonna hear about, you know, his vision for his artistry. Also, I saw him giving a lecture to a room of college students about reggae Rastafari, so he's an intellectual. So get your ital snacks, get your meditation, and get ready. We're going up in the wissy with this episode. Now, before we do that, let me take the time to big up the greatest online community on the planet, the Lion Pride. If you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride, and we're growing slowly but surely. Big up all of the Lion Pride on TikTok, because we just launched the TikTok. We're almost at 700 subscribers. TikTok, and to I that give I joy, because it's a young people platform, and you know what I mean, even though I feel young, you know what I mean, I feel like if I go up on a ball field, you're in problems. If we take you up on a basketball court, you're in problems. However, sometimes that's not the reality, people. We have to be honest with ourselves, you know what I mean? But I feel that way inside, you know what I mean? I'm a train. So, but the young people are over on TikTok. We launched a TikTok and it's doing well, so we give thanks. Big up. We just launched the IG page. We launched the Facebook page of the Lion Voice, separate from the Chasmach Kwesi pages, which we were using to promote. So the brand has got to a level now where we are starting to delineate the brand from the individual. You know, when we started, I&I brand was bigger than the platform, so we use I&I as the focal point. Now we're at the point where it has to get its own location, and that's a natural evolution of a creative ecosystem. You know what I mean? You work with what you have and you evolve. It's never stagnant, just like nature. So we are doing that, and I want to just thank everyone who is coming on this historic ride that we are having. Also, big up our Lion Pride on Patreon, our monthly subscribers. The item make this possible. We are growing there too, a lot slower, but me give thanks for the item. Big up the Action Lion Pride them, bridging them, and sisters who are sharing, liking, sending it out, doing a super chat on a live video, send a cash app as well. They're just action people, so they're doing things. Big up on yourself, Ubuntu. you know what I mean, the lifetime supporters, all of the people within the ecosystem play a role. I am just the vessel, but this is much bigger than I. And we are growing and we're not going to stop. Big up Frontline Books, big up Wally King's Design, big up Ramia King Designs, all of our sponsors. And if you have a small business and you want to advertise with us, if you're an artist and you're launching a project, we have packages now for our musical artists. We have packages for the authors. You're launching a book, link us. We send you a package. We work on something. We are building this audience, not just, again, for I, but for commerce, because we need to circulate the Rastafari and Pan-African dollar. And we are doing that. So we give thanks for everyone. And remember, if you're part of the Lion Pride, it means you're committed to the uprising of I people, meaning that you are committed to spend money. You don't like I because I'm long-winded and I chat too much. That's fine, but don't take it out on the guests then. You know what I mean? Support the guests, because the guests them doing powerful work. You know, you can't hate I because we have the peoples there, big up on the people's self, you know what I mean? But don't take it out on the guests. Every guest, at least 1,000 of the items supposed to go to the guest site and purchase the guests, whatever the guests them have. Because we don't bring foolishness front of the item know that. So we are building that type of community. And I told the item my dream, 50,000 people spending $10 with a guest is $500,000. I think we can do that every time we have a guest here. It might take, when I reach 1 million subscribers, to get 50,000 of the item to move in one accord, but I'm going to keep chanting it until it manifests, family. Because can you imagine if we are directing that amount of capital into our creatives, into our engineers, into our community workers? Every time they come on this platform, they wake up with 500,000 US in their account. Can you imagine? And it only costs an individual brethren or sister $10, and we can do that. Because remember, your time would come to, you know, where you come on the platform and you get that strength there. So that's how we have to think, collective security, to push out this new way and this new era of media, interactive. We are Rastafari, independent, non-aligned media. So big up on yourself, get on board with the vision, or don't. But just know, say, we are on a mission and we're moving forward. All right, housekeeping out of the way. Let us bring forward and let us give a warm Lion Pride welcome to our guests. The meditation, it's strong. Son of the Almighty. And when you put them two things together, you're going to find out, say, you have MediSun. Welcome.
Yes, sir.
Rastafari.
Greetings. Yes, sir. Ibashi. Greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty, Empress Menen, in divine balance. It's a joy and an honor.
Give thanks for the eye. I'm honored by the eye. I've watched the eye from afar. You know, we've reasoned 1 and 2 times. So this is really an opportunity for I to get to know the eye story. I love how the eye carry the eye self with that imperial dignity. You know what I mean? Just in terms of how they are moving through iration and the branding. I not see nothing shaky about the eye brand. I not see no loosey-goosey, you know what I mean? About the eye brand with a severe, you know, disciplined Rastafari energy. So I want to know the story. So we're going to ask the eye, as customary, to step aboard the Lion Talk time machine and take us to the moment of the eye birth. Where was the eye born? We want to know the origin story, because everyone I bring on this platform to I is a superhero. And we want to know the origin story. When we see the blockbuster movie about MediSun, where does it start? Give us the history and the journey to Far Eye.
Well, I guess it depends on, you know, if we want to have a prologue, or if we just going to jump into that moment of consumption. But I think we'll start there as kind of the central point. That would lead us into the late 80s in Boston, Massachusetts, where I was conceived. My mother, coming from the hills of Clarendon, Jamaica. My father is from the island of Montserrat, in the Leeward Islands there. So Both of them had migrated to Boston, Massachusetts, here on the east coast of the US. They came together. I was the second of the eventually 3 children. And being born and raised here was really both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in the sense that as an infant, I developed a neurological condition called epilepsy, for which I was medicated until the age of about 12. And, you know, growing up in a very Caribbean community, a lot of people don't associate Boston with Black people, period, much less Caribbean people. But this is one of the main Caribbean satellite cities in the US on the Eastern Seaboard.
Yes, it is.
So I had the privilege of having access to some of the best medical institutions on the planet. For those who don't know, Boston is basically a hub for medical advancement. And those medical interventions I received allowed me to stabilize and, you know, manage the epilepsy. But it came along with a culture that at that time, you know, there was no such thing as therapy. There's no such thing as asking a child how they're processing, dealing with essentially their mortality, because I wasn't not getting much information. So in my mind, you know, any day, any night, my nervous system could betray me, and that could be it for me. So in that scenario, music was my therapy. You know, I delved deep into the artists that inspired me. Growing up in the household I grew up in, because my parents also were relatively deep in the church, there were only a couple of artists that were allowed, secular artists, one of which was Michael Jackson, and the second was Bob. So receiving those 2 influences from my early years, and then growing into the consciousness that sprang forth, because I was never really an adherent to any religion, especially not Christianity. I read the entire Bible, and from that time, you know, I decided that Western Christianity, it absolutely informs the system of the oppression and us versus them sort of dichotomy that informs, you know, this region. And, you know, Rastafari consciousness entered into my ideation from a young age. And from that time, I would say Rastafari has even been a bridge into other forms of African spirituality, which I've embraced over time as well. So that is a sort of an overview, but the musical journey, again, is an ancestral tradition of which I find myself being the custodian at this time. I'm a multiple Grammy-winning songwriter. I come from a lineage of songwriters. My father, from the island of Montserrat, is a recording artist by the name of Supreme. He can even be found on YouTube. His music is still out there. There's one song known as Emerald City Jam that is, you know, a legendary carnival song that plays every year to this day. And his uncle, who trained him, is the songwriter behind one of the biggest hits that the Caribbean has ever given to the world, from the island of Montserrat, which, you know, you might recognize. Ole, 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 me heart on fire, me soul on fire, feeling hot, hot, hot.
If you are from the Caribbean and you don't know that song, is like you're telling a lie, you know what I mean? Because that song is like one of the massive hits. And please give us some history of Montserrat for those who are not familiar. We have a global audience. People may know Jamaica, but Montserrat is a place that people don't know much about, but it has a rich culture. So please just give us a little history around Montserrat as well.
Indeed. So Montserrat is also known as the Emerald Isle. It is one of the few places on this planet where you can observe an active volcano, which I was blessed with the experience of seeing the before and after. You know, I got to visit as a small child before the volcano erupted in 1994, and I've seen the aftermath. It is an island that originally, I believe, was property of the French. Montserrat is a French family name. Eventually was taken over by the British Crown. And Montserrat's culture is informed by a blend of the Africans that were in the space and the Irish indentured service that were brought there as well. So there's a heavy Irish influence. But it's a very small island. I think the last I checked the population, it was a little bit over 5,000 people.
Wow.
So it's a very rare bloodline, and it's a small island right off the coast of Antigua. They just, I think, reopened the airport, but many times, you know, people just have to take a ferry. I think they recently put the airport back. So
Okay.
yeah, it's that's where one of my bloodlines originates.
Wow. So your music royalty, is that neatly I tell we say your music royalty, very neatly.
So something like that. Yeah, and I give thanks as well. My younger brother is also a Grammy nominated producer. He goes by the name Almighty. My sister is also, she works in the music business, in the management and executive side, and she's been responsible for, I think, over 30 Grammy wins under her watch. So we've all just continued that ancestral tradition.
Yeah. Serious lineage. So talk to us about, before we get into the music side, because I see you carry over that side there. What was it like as a young epileptic first generation living American in Boston? Because Boston is also known for its racism. Boston is known for its cold. Boston is, you know what I mean? What was it like for there as a young youth in the Boston school system?
I think the word that forwards to the top of mind is alienation. It was a sense of being an oddity in every sense of the word, and also, you know, my physical stature. For those who don't know, I'm 6'4", or 230 pounds. So I'm visually, physically viewed as a threat. I have been since I was a young child.
Okay.
And also being of Caribbean descent in the 90s. You know, I think since maybe the 2000s, like the tail end of my high school experience is when, Sean Paul, them man, they start get popular, Elephant Man, Beanie Man. So it's like Jamaica entered the cultural zeitgeist as something to be celebrated. But growing up, it was kind of like we're all in this bag as the Africans, as the banana boat people, them, and African booty scratcher. It wasn't really popular. But we had our own sort of community, within the community, to where I grew up with, alongside a bunch of other Caribbean, children of immigrants or people who were born maybe in the islands and came over. So there was both a sense of comfort and a sense of alienation as I entered those institutions. And I think had I not felt that way, I would have been much more studious. But the institution proved hostile to any expression of intelligence or ambition amongst people like myself. So there was a sense of having to hide, like a very, I guess it harkens to the plantation setting where, if you show a man say you can read or you have certain capacity, now you become a target.
Yeah. So I grew up in Toronto, so I know the diaspora experience, even though I was born in Jamaica, but I grew up in Toronto, and one of the ways we connected was through sound system culture, So we used to hear about Boston from songs like Bass Odyssey, Bodyguard, some big dance used to take place. That's how I used to know the diaspora imprint, because we used to get cassettes from Boston, Connecticut, all of these areas, and some of the one of the legendary Bass Odyssey, King Addies clash took place in Boston, So this is how we know about Boston. Were you involved in that dancehall culture? You said Sean Paul, but was the sound system and dancehall culture a part of your reality in those days?
Absolutely. Obviously I was really young in the 90s, but one of my uncles was a major promoter in the city. So any family gathering, I was exposed to a lot of the newest music that was coming out of the Caribbean. Also, my grandfather on my father's side is a selector to this day. He's almost 90 years old. He goes by the name Selector Angus at the Bob Marley Club at Universal Studios Orlando. If you ever go in there, you see a little old man around the sound. That's my granddad. So every time I would spend with them, beer vibes, I run right through reggae, dancehall, calypso, everything. So I got exposed to a lot that way. And when I began performing as well in the city, a lot of the time it was sound system as well. There
Okay.
was also a situation at a venue called the Western Front. They would have these events with live bands and musicians, and I would just go up there. And thing about Boston, as you said, it's very cold. So
Yes.
at times the reception wouldn't necessarily be so warm until then warm up.
Yes.
And,
Yes. Yes.
and I think that was really informative, and because there are many crowds I've gone to around the world, and people stay the same way. I'm like, all right, I don't feel like when a bad trust me, me used to them something. I go love me.
Yes. Yes. And you have to have that as an artist who performs, in
Yeah.
front of audiences. So, where did the Rastafari influence start? What was it that made you gravitate? I'm assuming you weren't born into a Rastafari family. So what was it that made you start to gravitate to Rastafari?
I think it was an inherent sense of cognitive dissonance as a very inquisitive youth, dealing with the deep existential questions, having to deal with my mortality at such an early age made me quite serious about the spiritual realm from early on. And I was looking at the Pentecostal institution around me, which some Jamaicans might recognize. I was born into Church of God of Prophecy, which is still active in the island. I've seen it up until recently. And I was looking around and thinking about some of these restrictions, because one of the battlegrounds was this. How one is allowed to wear their crown. It was almost cult-like in the sense that no jewelry was allowed. You're not allowed to go to the movies. Like a lot of things of the world were basically outlawed. But I'm looking at this room full of African people, and they're wearing hair that doesn't belong to them, and they're penalizing people for wearing the hair that grows out of their head. Yet they're teaching you that we are beautifully and wonderfully made. There's just so many contradictions I was witnessing that I began to ask questions and look deeper. Of course, there's a deep influence from the music. I would say artists like, of course, Bob was the first Rastafari consciousness I was exposed to.
Yes.
Growing up in the 90s, you had Sizzler, you had Capleton, you had Garnet Silk, you had so many people chanting that message, Buju Banton.
Yes.
And also we cannot eliminate the hip hop aspect as well. There's a lot of really great conscious hip hop that was around at the time. So just knowledge of self was always of interest to me. And as I look deeper into the foundation, Ethiopia, the Nile Valley, and the continent overall, I knew within myself, obviously still being a minor, I cannot just do what I want to do. So I said, all right, well, when I left the yard, first thing. And I've never turned away from the path since them time now.
Okay. And what was your first acknowledgement or recognition of his majesty? Because there's two things. There's a culture, you have Rasta culture, which is the Caribbean culture, but then there's the personality and the person of the emperor. When were you aware, and how did the cite His Majesty's divinity? What was that journey, or what was that epiphany moment?
I would say that the first awareness is just from seeing some of my elder relatives around. I had one cousin named Troy who was a Ras, and whenever I would visit that side of my family, I would see all of the different iconography of Rastafari and the colors, but subconsciously absorbing these things without really knowing the heights and the depths of it. As I began to look into certain things, my own independent study, it became obvious that looking at Ethiopia as the one region of the continent that managed to remain unconquered, and looking at the skillful governance of this sovereign nation by His Majesty and Menelik and the forefathers.
Yes.
This is a lineage that is necessary to absolutely look into and to incorporate into one's consciousness to operate as a sovereign African anywhere on this planet.
It is serious. What was the first time that you ventured into a studio where it became, yes, you might sing in the bathroom, you know what I mean? You sing around the house, you sing for your brethren at school. When was the first time you said that, you know what, I'm going to take this to another level and actually go studio, record, and really seek to become an artist?
I was actually in university in New York at the time at a university called Hofstra over in Long Island, and my RA, who is like basically kind of like the the police on campus, the person who governed the dormitory, was also a bedroom from the Caribbean. I forget which island he was from, but he had a recording set up in his room.
Okay.
I had done some of the open fire phone events and shown my talent, so he was aware. So he say, "Yo, you can try off. I want to read him." And the rest is history. Once I did that in school, I realized where I was going was not in alignment with my true purpose and destiny. So I decided to make the music, the primary objective, and the rest is history.
So in terms of that first recording, were you already Rastafari at that time?
I was Rastafari adjacent. I think I was so young that I was interested and seeking Rastafari, but I wouldn't say I was fully grounded as yet in that moment. But by the time I began releasing records officially in 2007, I looked into the words and works of His Majesty on a level where I would say yes.
Okay. And I came to know of the eye through a link with Rasta Boki, and when I look at the eye discography, it's very easy to see that the eye plug in with a lot of the artists in Jamaica. The eye is not a stranger, and then even reasoning with the eye, I hear the eye call some name and know say the eye well integrated with what's happening on the ground. How did that how did those links come about, being that you're growing up in Boston? How did you become so connected on the ground, and what was the link with Life Yard?
Well, that's a really, really interesting question. I'll try to be concise.
Take your time. A lion talk this, a dog talk. And a dog talk. A lion talk.
Yeah, I mean, so firstly, being of Jamaican descent, of course, like I've been going home since I was a child, and as a young artist, I also would go into the island at times to do work. And funny enough, I was just in dialogue with someone, a dialogue with someone recently, who's reminding me of the foundation, because the place I would go to a lot is Linstead. My uncle had a home in Linstead, and I would spend most of my time there. So the first place I ever recorded actually was at Charmax Studio, which is on the property of Max Romeo. It's his home studio. And from this on now, I began spending more time in town in Kingston, and it was really eye-opening for me when I began spending time in Kingston that the works that I've been doing from here, actually in this very room here in Boston, had preceded me. Because I've been chanting Rastafari name from years and years prior to physically being as physically present in the scene. So there are a lot of artists I was encountering that, not even just artists, just people that were aware of the work that in a way that I wouldn't have even anticipated. But at the same time, I think with the consistency of the different rhythms that I've voiced, compilation singles, I've released 3 albums under my previous name, as I'm MediSun now, formerly known as King Mas. So there's 3 albums under that.
King Mas.
King Mas, yeah.
Okay.
So in the time that even Sabuki and I link up would have been within the King Mas era. So and I
you have to give it the heights behind that name, the King Mas, because what was the inspiration for that name?
So believe it or not, we all know the popular DJ Massacre. Originally, yes. I was known as Massacre, the Boston Massacre. And the reason why I chose the name Massacre coming from Boston is, if you know the history of this country, that one of the inciting incidents that sparked the American Civil War was an incident that took place here called the Boston Massacre. And the first person to give his life and their blood shed for the concept of America is a man by the name of Crispus Attucks,
Yes.
who was of African descent.
Yes.
The first person to ever shed blood for America was a black man. And when I learned that fact, that inspired the original name. And of course, as Rasta, as I was growing into Rasta, people were already saying, you know, King, yes, King, King Mas. So the name was given. Now at the same time, when the DJ, you know, was, you know, we were both ascending at the same time, they say, you know, say, yeah, even the energy, what I word they carry, I feel like let me move from it into a more royal, energy in terms of how I'm presenting. And at the same time, you know, I was reasoning with that one on a different stream and you know, a younger artist that was influenced by what I was doing, unbeknownst to me.
Yes.
And he was saying that he witnessed that change and it inspired him as well, as he recently underwent a name change, and how it represents also the natural evolution of many a warrior along the journey. Because when I want to awaken from the slumber of the programming that comes along with, you know, Babylonian growing or living, the first response is wrath and anger, and you want to put on everything.
Yes.
So you pass through the warrior era, and then eventually you step into your divine rulership and leadership era, and then transcend into almost like the guru or the sage.
So in terms of the King Mas, what type of lyrical content was King Mas producing? Was it fiery music? Was it gunman song? What kind of songs were you doing as King Mas?
What was really motivating that era was the scholarship and the historical element of, you know, there's a lot of platitudes that we throw around that, you know, we are kings and queens as black people, but if you ask people to name 5 African kingdoms, they weren't, you know, most people were not able to at that time. So I said, through the music, I'm going to teach and illustrate all of these, not only the kingdoms of our past, but many of these kingdoms that still exist to this day. You know, I've spent a good amount of time in the continent.
Yes. Okay, we have to take some
from
time.
From Zimbabwe to South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania. So that was really what was the focus of that era. Whereby this era now, I think as I look at the broader spectrum of issues affecting our nation, the first thing we have to do is handle our trauma.
Yes. Serious thing. So I love that. And we're gonna get to the continent. He's a man love continental reasoning. But I want to, before we get to the continent, how were you distributing music as King Mas that it was hitting the youth them in Jamaica? What were you using to push out the music?
It's funny, like at the time, literally, because when we start voice up music, you know, and you know, at this point I'm voicing myself, I was mixing myself, doing everything with basically no training, just freestyling it. I made a mixtape in 2010 called New Millennium Rasta. I made a shoot out. I just started emailing it out to people. And I want to tell you, say, the first time I ever pulled up to the gate of Tough Gang, which was years and years later, the Siki, I reached a gate and Siki, I say, oh. And I told him my name. He said, what? New Millennium Rasta, brother. So it's like, yeah. For real, like, yeah, man, the youth say, yo, you say rinse, yo. Everybody in our scheme did a rinse that tape there, you know, fire. Think a joke. And it's like, you never know where things are going.
Yeah.
This is before like Spotify or streaming existed. So
was that your uncle's links where were you getting these emails from? Because you're reggae royalty, you know, I mean music royalty. So I know there's some links in there. Where were you emailing? Because a lot of young artists, this is the challenge. They're creating the music, but nobody's hearing it. But you know, the small circle. And one of the things I tell people, if you have 10,000 subscribers or followers, probably 2 to 5% of those actually see your post. So a lot of people don't know how the algorithm works now. It really is against younger artists if you don't come at it from a business mind, if you're just uploading and things. So you were before that era, but it's interesting. Who were you emailing it to sound systems? How Who were you emailing
Yeah,
it?
at the time, I was just doing my due diligence. I think the main platform at that time was Facebook. Everybody was using.
Okay.
So I had
Yes.
my 5,000 friends on Facebook, and I
Okay.
would gather
Okay.
emails. Yeah, I would just do my own blasts, write up my own press, and just put things out. And some of
Okay.
it went really far. And then, of course, over the years, I started to link with. Like a couple years after that, I did my first juggling with Winter James over
Okay.
Stand Production, and started to connect
Genius.
some
Genius.
people with a wider reach.
That's amazing, and we can see that the AI is above average in terms of intelligence and how you approach, because even that speaks volumes about the eye in terms of knowing that there's press, because most independent artists don't take the time to do those things, on their own until they get to a level where they have a team. So the fact that you're doing that without having that big push behind you, what I mean, that speaks to, as you say, doing your due diligence. And I hope the young artists who are watching this, will take a page from that book, that when you start, you have to learn the entire business. It's not just studio voicing. That's one aspect. It's still more, very important, because that's the product. However, there's so much that goes into the packaging, the marketing, distribution of the product. So I love that the I could share that. You say you step on the continent. How old was the I when you first step on the continent, and where did you go first?
I believe I was 24 the first time, and my first point of entry was South Africa. From South
Okay.
Africa to Zimbabwe, and I would say it was actually a lovely empress that invited me into the space, and
Okay.
we actually have a child. I have my young
Okay.
4-year-old
Okay.
who is Caribbean, Zimbabwean,
Okay. Wow. Wow.
joining the bloodline. So give thanks for that. And the music has brought
Okay.
me most recently to the island of
Stick a
Zanzibar.
pin. Stick a pin. Is the I single right now, or you have a empress?
I'm married to the music.
Okay, okay. Because we have a program called Lion Love, and a lot of the empress them say they can't find no brethren. You know what I mean? So we make space for that on the Lion Voice Network, because the empress them a look for a king man. Brethren is there. Him say he married to the music. We don't know if you interpret that right now, but we stick up in and come and come forward to that. But continue the South Africa journey.
So South Africa, again across the River Limpopo into Zimbabwe. I
Okay.
plan to perform in these regions, and whenever I'm asked, there's a certain question that of interviewers will ask is where on the planet was like my favorite place to perform, and I've
Good.
performed in some interesting places. My first tour actually took me to Beirut, Lebanon.
Wow.
I returned to twice after I've been there 3 times. I've done Germany, Costa Rica, a lot of places, but I would say South Africa is the place I felt the most love.
Wow.
Even at that time, there's a song I did. Again, sometimes it's really surprising to me. I went there in 2011, and there's a song I did called "Proud to be Rasta,"
Yes.
featuring myself, a sister from the UK, Askala Selassie, and another virgin from the UK, Blackout in name,
Okay.
Blackout JA. And I got there, and as soon as I drew that rhythm in front of the crowd, they cut the rhythm, and the whole crowd was singing. They knew the song already, so they are miles ahead, because in most places, even in the US and in Jamaica, I would be doing these songs and nobody knows anything about them.
The
But yeah,
music
in
lives.
Africa didn't take the music serious, so
Yeah, man. The
it was
music
a
lives.
beautiful moment. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
And
that.
I've gotten to perform again since that time in Nairobi, Kenya, and most recently on the island of Zanzibar.
Extensive traveler. And again, it's impressive, because this is all without major label backing, traveling around the world and performing your craft. In terms of the trad, though, you also have an intellectual side to the eye, because the first time I had knowledge of the eye, Rasabuki sent out a lecture where the I was giving a lecture at St. Michael's College. And I watched and I was very impressed because you're going through the history of reggae music, touching into Rastafari, the intersection, and these things. Where does that intellectual, how long have you been doing that aspect of the teaching part? And then give us a history of how you were connected with St. Michael's College. And what is St. Michael's College, just for those who need to know?
So, to answer the question in terms of teaching overall, even the way that I approach music or performance, I've always seen it as an opportunity to educate and to enlighten. So I've been doing that for quite some time, and also preparing visual aid, PowerPoints, and things like this through certain community gatherings. I've been doing a lot of teaching of Bantu history and culture, just within my community. So it's not new to me. My link with St. Mike's was an extension of a performance opportunity. It was a certain promoter up in Vermont that I performed with a little over a year ago, and did a run with, I don't know if you know, Heavyweight Rappers.
No.
It's a band from Jamaica they brought up, and did a tour with them. And I guess he was impacted in such a way that there's a professor at the university who was seeking someone to give a lecture on Rastafari for their Institute of Equity and Justice.
Okay.
As they do, I think quarterly different. They have speakers from different genres, hip hop, whatever have you, to show music as a point of resistance culturally. And he recommended me personally, so big up True 802 for that link. And
big up.
Yeah. So the lecture was Rastafari, Rhythm and Resistance. Born in Jamaica was the name of it, and it made such an impact on the community that St. Michael's College decided to partner with me directly in doing some work in Jamaica. And all of this was planned prior to Hurricane Melissa, but with that situation taking place, that first and only African American head of the institute in the history of the school. So she's been opening up certain pathways for I and I to actually make a sound as the lion's voice.
Give thanks. And it's important. I wanted there to clarify that because we have to understand as Rastafari in this hour, in every institution, His Majesty is opening hearts of individuals who are seated in different places that are opening doors for I and I. This is why the petty differences and all of the infighting has to stop, because there are so many doors out there in various institutions where one seated up. They may have grown up listening to Bob Marley music or Peter Tosh or Burning Spear, and they just love Rastafari in their heart. And now they find themselves as a department chair. They find themselves in a position of power where they can help. They have access to resources. So we have to be in a position to come with a unified voice to be able to tap into these resources around the world. It doesn't matter the institution. Rastafari govern their hearts, and we have to overstand our what they would call soft power, as Rastafari that is unique to I and I. I want to also big up the I, because through the I, St. Michael's College has offered to support the RMO Triple R plan, and also offer support to the Life Yard, which the item probably have seen the episode we did with Life Yard. Big up Ras Eyeball, Ras Sabuki, the whole Life Yard family, Sister Tiana, whole Life Yard family. All of them have been on the platform. So St. Michael's is making commitments. I think also Peter Tosh Foundation. And this is very important because I think it's a model. This is just one university, but there are so many in America that we could be tapping in that have similar people in similar positions. So just speak to us about, you touched on it, the collaboration and the partnership that is, because really through the I works, let's be honest. We have to commend the I for building this bridge. So speak to us about the partnership that is unfolding between Life Yard, Peter Tosh Foundation, and the RMO.
Absolutely. So when I was approached by the university, because mind you, I was contracted to do a residency which involved musical workshops in songwriting and composition, and to give this lecture. But the president of the university attended the lecture, and he and the rest of the administration were so moved by what was communicated, as well as how close the hurricane situation was, chronologically too, because I think it was just a few days apart that I gave the lecture, that they were moved and motivated to actually make some sort of a contribution or a plan for a long-term partnership in really aiding our building plans, because having worked with Life Yard for years and more recently connecting with RMO and the Peter Tosh Foundation, every foundation obviously has its own long-term strategy that has been in existence before there was any disaster to add into the equation. And as you've been saying, many people look at these sorts of institutions and harm they've done to the indigenous people of this world, the African people in particular, Ethiopian people. And there is an opportunity here for, some certain historical wrongs to be counterbalanced by a willingness in this time to do what is right. And the fact that they extended themselves and they approached me to say, Medi, we are not going to go into any of these spaces and just be acting all, wild without any sense of the lay of the land. What do you suggest? Therefore, right away I identified RMO as such a powerful galvanizing force for all of the different houses and mansions, that there's no way that I would undertake this mission and not include RMO as one of the spearheads. Of course, Life Yard being my family, being something that I've been a part of for so many years and seeing and observing the work they've done in the South Side and the inner city. I definitely would want Brother Sabuki and the ones them to be central to what we're doing. And
Yes.
Through Brother Sabuki, I became connected to the Tosh family. We actually performed at the previous Tosh Fest in October. So I was in Westmoreland just days before the hurricane hit.
Oh wow.
And having seen Belmont and experienced that community just days before they absorbed that impact, there is no way I was going to move forward and not take those people and take that community into consideration. So that was just intuitively how everything came together.
Serious. And again, we have to give the thanks, because now that has evolved into the institution giving a 5-year commitment to support the redevelopment of these spaces. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to give money, although they're willing to help. But there, is really to connect with professionals, the engineers, the architects, to have students be able to come in and do projects. There's so many different ways universities can assist, and they have budgets, and they do this all over the world: disaster preparedness, redevelopment, all of these things. So it's within the scope. But again, if as Rastafari we're not organized and we're not able to tap into these resources, it's very difficult. You know what I mean? So big up the RMO for existing and being able to tap in. Lifeyard, of course, is a part of RMO. So it's just the unity, we see the unity in work, and we're building on it. Again, this is just one institution. America, where I am in DC, we probably have 10 universities,
I mean, I'm in Boston. I'm in like the college town of college towns.
Exactly. And I don't think people, that's one thing about America, is that them have university like San, what I mean, all over. And all of these universities do community development projects and have departments that interface with communities. So, and then also remember, this is a connection to young people, so the generations of tomorrow, enough of them want to know about Rastafari. So I really give thanks for the eye making that link and stewarding that link, as a brethren, that obviously you have your own affairs and you could just be working on the New Millennium Rast Volume 2 or something, you know what I mean? But you're doing other things. How does the eye see the future moving forward for the eye? What's the eye vision and trajectory for the eye? Is the eye seeing repatriation or staying in?
Like all of the ones them are move in the same general direction, which is to the east.
Highly.
Yeah, so that's the thing there, and of course, being a parent as well, thinking about my child's development and her ability to grow free from some of the pollution that my generation was exposed to, with our parents not being as aware
Yes.
of, what is in the food, what is in the water, what is in the air, what is in the educational institutions that they're sending us to. I want to do everything that I can to make sure that, High Princess Foundation is rooted and grounded in Rastafari liberty, not just teachings, but actually practice on a daily basis.
Okay, serious thing. And is the eye still an independent artist?
I don't see myself moving from that space, because I'm not just an artist in the sense of being a performer. I'm a composer. I play guitar.
Yes.
I've written songs and continue to write for a lot of others. And
can you tell us some of the Grammy nominated songs that you have credits for?
Should I take this off the wall? One of the Grammys is on the wall there. And that is
sorry, Mr. Grammy nominated, but you get Grammy too.
Not nominated, no, yeah, winning 2 times.
Winning 2 times. You see that? What were the 2 songs?
One of them is Perform and Done, which was on the Strictly Roots album with Morgan Heritage. Big up Morgan Heritage for them there. And
big up.
More recently, the Calling album with Kabaka Pyramid. I'm both
people say, all right, the Empire is serious?
I mean, that's hard to say for the King Master era. So long ago, I can't really say, but I would say on the MediSun, the first big release, something for the Empress.
Okay.
Special request to me, Caribbean Queen. Woman, you know, say you are every man dream. Your coconut kiss it and make me match drip intellect connect lit like the chalice where I steam highly with my Empress men and by my side. Wickedest right got me wishing this time would have never end sweet like a licorice pipe. Legitimate heights like a split she ignite. What a way, me say, what a way. Feel like me hit the jackpot in the lottery. This is my lucky day. Me book a pretty Anna K. University graduate. Still she got a lot of grades. Why? Cause the herb she never shorter. Woman, I know you've been hurt, but now you're smarter. Bring the whole of your love in my quarters. Enough left for me yard, me say before one.
The songwriter. Me see the songwriter. I'm a songwriter too, so I like lyrics. I love it. So that song got some good response.
Yeah, that track is called the Roll Some More Remix, featuring myself, an R&B singer well known by the name of Lucky Day and Chronix. Three of us on the track.
Okay. And your collabs, you have so many known artist collabs out there. You know, how do you manage to make these collaborations?
I mean, a lot of them just happen organically. Like when I got on that track in particular, you know, how it was because I've known Lucky for a good while. You know, he's LA based artist, and I used to spend a lot of time in LA as well. We would play basketball together, all kind of stuff. So when they were looking for
you're a baller, well, you're 6'4",
so 6 foot something, so yeah, when I must.
You grow in America, you must can ball.
Yeah.
All right, we love that.
So yeah, then I look a reggae artist for the song, and I was working with the producer already, goes by the name of D Mile. He's a Haitian brother from Brooklyn, so he grew up around the reggae culture, and he decided to do a remix of the original song, which is an R&B song, but a one drop format. So since I'm in the link, he's just like, yo, link Medi, boom bam, simple. And they decided they wanted to add another artist who would add even more vibes to the song, and
yes,
Brandman was the selection. The rest is history.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. What's one of your favorite songs? Give us a cappella of one of your songs that can be something recent that does touch your heart, where you just give a joy if you chant that song there. What would be one of those songs?
You say recent or all time?
All time. Get all time, because a lot of people will be just hearing about the first time, so we want to send them on the right journey. What all time?
Here I come again, Jaja, before your presence with singing. Oh gosh, Lion's voice. Lord, watch over our shoulders tonight and help us live thy words tomorrow. Let's not forget where we're from. Father, show us the way to go. You said I must love and feed my enemies, and I'm gonna do it. You said I shouldn't hate or grudge, and I won't, not even for a minute. Let only truth come from my lips. Bless our souls, for without you we can't make it. Lord, watch over our shoulders tonight and help us keep thy words tomorrow.
So you have a version of that song on the road too?
I want to tell you, say, we got King Jammies, anything can go on.
So give me one of your favorite songs that they are right now.
And I said, we you. As a matter of fact, let me do this.
I am being exclusive. Hold on. At the big international Lion voice, I want the them sister. At the first a man pick up a guitar, history I make right here. So all right.
I like it. And I said, we you. Anytime you hear the sound, you know what's going down. Lion's voice. And I say, officer, what are you searching for? Is Is it something illegal? Or is it standard procedure? Anyway, you cite the Congo dread. Discrimination. Anyway, you cite the Congo dread. License and registration. Why?
Right, that's all.
What the name? Discrimination.
Talent is there. You know, Sammy, I need a drop from the eye too. So right after this interview, please need that drop there. With the guitar too, because we don't get that often. You know what I mean? That's one thing I want to learn, you know, and I tell myself I have to learn to play the guitar because that acoustic vibe, I love it, you know what I mean? And it speaks to the eye talent, multi-talented because you're an athlete, you're a songwriter, you're a performer, you're an intellect, you know what I mean? So we love to see that because that is most of I and I as Rastafari. You know, His Majesty bless us with so much talent and skill. And it's really an honor for I and I to really be able to highlight this, you know. I really, really feel good. I want to challenge the eye a little bit now. Because you're a visionary, we have to tap into your brain trust. If the eye woke up tomorrow and Lion Voice wire you $1 billion US, you know, so money is not an option. I want to know what are the moves that the eye would make to empower the Rastafari and Pan-African family worldwide. 1 billion in a year account, you know. So what are the moves that you're going to start making?
I would absolutely, it would have to be a three-pronged approach.
All right.
First aspect of that trinity would be to establish eco-villages in the continent in particular, but across the diaspora. I would focus mainly on the continent still as the final resting, you know, point or destination, you know. I would also do what I can in the footsteps of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey to establish a vessel that would, you know, be able to facilitate movement of ones and movement of goods as well.
Yeah, man.
And the third.
Hold on, I have a vision, you know. I'm gonna block this vision to the eye.
Yes, sir.
Because you know how you have the Marley cruise.
Yeah.
I'm picturing a Black Star Liner cruise, you know, that takes you from the Caribbean to Africa. On the bottom of the Star Liner, then you have the shipping, the cars, the good, the freight. On the top, you have, you know, the same thing like the Marley cruise. You have artists every night. You have the whole vibration, and then in the daytime, you have the education where you're learning about the Middle Passage. You're learning about the journey the ancestors took. So the ship would be taking people from the Africa to the Caribbean. And you'll be talking about what the ancestors experienced going forward, and then in the nighttime it's fun and party and stage show, and then on the way forward, you know what I mean, it's about the return, you know, it's about repatriation, it's about the future, and it's a cruise line. This is a vision I've had for so long. So when you say the Marcus Garvey, and I know others have similar type vision, so I love that the eye thinking about a ship, because I don't think we know how much shipping, how much trade happens on the high seas. You know, the world still is a shipping empire, you know what I mean? But continue.
Absolutely. That's why, you know, maritime law, you know, you see that flag with the golden edges, you know, is a law that they always emphasize. But ultimately, again, the third part of this journey, and the eye actually touch upon this within the model of the ship with the eye present, which is a re-education program, or a true education program, because we don't want to repeat education with the ones that I get over here. So I want to actually show people a certain worldview and framework of liberty and of knowledge of self that would basically qualify a one for a return to the continent, because it is not productive. As you can see, there are many people who have made the trad and end up turn tail and have to exit because lack of preparation, you know what I mean, as they say, failure to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah, man.
So I want to make sure people are prepared for what they're stepping into materially, culturally, spiritually, on all levels.
Yes.
There would be a strong investment in, you know, making sure that people are prepared before they even go up on the ship.
I want to big up Dr. Desta, Mama Desta, as a term called prepartuation, you know?
Yeah.
The preparation aspect is so crucial because, as the Virgin say, you don't plan, you plan to fail. And Africa will spit you out. Africa is not no joke place.
Mm-hmm.
Go run in and think, you know, you're there Zion and you just have to kick up your foot and eat fruits. That, I mean, that lasts you strong, you know what I mean? And then reality
starts to hit, yeah.
Get two side kicking at your waist, you know what I mean? So, you know, it's serious. So I love that. And you've been to the continent, so it's not, you're not talking from, you know, theory. You know, you've actually seen on the ground. What are some of the other places in Africa that you've been, and what would you say to artists about the opportunity that Africa presents? Because I think a lot of our artists are ignoring 1.5 billion, I mean million, 1.5 billion, yeah, people who just naturally gravitate and love reggae music.
For sure, because, you know, you just have to look at the numbers. You know, I'm not 100% certain on the number, but I feel as if the entire Caribbean is maybe a few tens of millions.
Yes.
You have singular nations. Africa is comprised of 54 nations as we speak, you know, because it looks like some are even about to partition further, and maybe some are going to unite. Let's see. But ultimately, even if you look at the modern nation states of Africa, many of these individual nations contain more people than the entire Caribbean, not just Jamaica alone. So people who say they want to bust a Jamaica or in America or certain places, of course, you know, we have to always deal with our root and our foundation and the community around us. This is wise, but to overlook places like Kenya, which is a nation of, I think, nearly 50 million people, and, you know, the love that they have for Jamaica, for Rastafari, and for reggae music, it's
unparalleled. Yes. I tell people Chronixx bus in Kenya before Kingston.
Absolutely. Big up ZJ Heno, you know, and the celebrities over there fighting for the music on that side. Zimbabwe, again, the biggest genre in Zimbabwe is dancehall. Zim dancehall. They have their own indigenous music with the mbira and all their traditional sounds, but the youth them right now at dancehall, they must study. They want to be dancehall artists, and, you know, of course, with Bob being there for that inaugural celebration, the impact of Rastafari is massive. So Rastafari truly govern the earth, you know, not only in the continent. There's nowhere on this planet that I've been as Rasta where people, you know, don't have it's polarizing. It can go either way. But 9 times out of 10 I
respect. I tell people that, and that's why for you know, you can't get if you say nothing bad about the elders, you know, because the buckles with them fight per earth, that I and I generation can walk anywhere, any garrison, any ghetto, any high class place, you know what I mean, any middle class place, I mean, top to ground as Rastafari. From your whole liberty is almost like, you know, the red carpet roll out for you, you know what I mean? And that's a lived experience for I personally, because I've been to the highest of wealth and I've been to the lowest of ghetto and garrison, and, you know what I mean, always feel that love there. Or as I say, majority, because you can have some wicked,
like an ignorant ballad who have a problem, but majority,
it's rare, because even if a man is a white,
like, even some of the road man them, like I spend a lot of time in England as well, and in London, you could walk past a wickedest set of road man, from them to Rasta, respect, they're not trouble Rasta.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, even a white supremacist, enough of them still love Bob Marley and you know what I mean. So even if they hate black people, they still have a respect within them for Rastafari. It's strange, you know what I mean? But that's the reality, you know what I mean? So it's very rare to find someone who directly just is against Rastafari. I mean, they will, you know, I think the most opposition is in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, and them places,
sure.
you know.
Just a lot of our own people who just.
That's what I'm saying. That's, I think, the strongest opposition to Rastafari, especially like in upper class circles, would come from a Jamaica or Caribbean islands where there's that indigenous kind of vibe, you know. But outside of them place there, it's very rare. Talk to us. You're a perfect person to talk to about this topic now. Trap dancehall. You know what I mean? The sound that's coming out of Jamaica now is highly influenced by American trap music. The messages, and I tell people, I'm not a hypocrite. I grew up on dancehall. Bounty Killer was my favorite artist. I'm not a hypocrite. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, I always have to remind myself that, because I can't listen to Badman songs right now, but I have to always remind myself that when I was a youth, you know, I memorized every Bounty Killer dub plate. You couldn't tell me nothing about, you know what I mean? My first DJ name was Slaughter, because I said,
oh, so you see the parallel.
Yes, yes.
Massive
same type of vibe. And it was a brethren. I was in Jamaica at Bojo Bantan studio, and a brethren, Ija Bones, big up yourself anyway, the Ija Bone, and with that and man asked me my name, I'm Slaughter. I said, why your name? So like I could see the face, like the man face, like, why would you choose a name like that, brethren himself? Yeah. Same thing, you know, you need, you know, the energy. And then from that, me just use my real name. But, and then it was funny that I even saw a Bounty Killer interview where he said it was the Rasta when he was voicing that told him to start voice reality songs, you know. That's why he started having 3 versions for every song, and a reality version, because the Rasta said, you know, oh, so Rastafari play that role, you know, of cleansing the music, you know what I mean? But right now, though, the question, I'm long-winded, so bear with me. Right now, the question is the trap dancehall, you know, and how do you see where the music is going coming out of Jamaica right now? And, you know, following the reggae revival period, we're not seeing that strong Rastafari energy penetrating with the youths them in Kingston, in Jamaica. You know what I mean? It really seemed like the trap is what's holding the people. How do I see the current state of dancehall and reggae music in the island right now?
Well, one thing I made sure to highlight even in my lecture is that when you look at the foundation of Caribbean music industry or Caribbean music overall, there is a correlation with the rise of tourism.
Yes.
You saw like the genre of mento emerge mainly to, you know, not only to preserve our folk songs and traditions, but also this is a way to, you know, tourists them are come in, you make a little change, and you know, the hotel circuit emerged, and mento, which was, you know, traditional folk music.
Yes.
And what was funny about it as well, because the banjo is traditionally used, one of the students in the workshops I was leading, she does folk music. She also played the banjo this is from Vermont. This is bordering on Canada as far north. And I believe they said that Vermont is, I think it's the second whitest state in America. It's one of the whitest places you
can. They have a huge white Rastafari community up there too.
Absolutely. There is a sizable Rastafari and Jamaican community. But that instrument, there was an overlap between our traditional folk music and the folk music here in America. So that there's that tie from the root. And then when we move into the ska era, image
and let's stick up in, we have to know that the banjo is a West African instrument. So people don't know that bluegrass, which is the root of American country music, come off of the banjo. So it's all coming from West Africa, and those hillbillies were watching the Africans with their stringed instruments and things that were brought from Africa. The banjo is straight West African, but continue.
Yes, So from this on now we move into the ska era. And when you look at ska, there's a clip that I used from my interview with Bonnie Striker Lee and you know, Rising Power Eternally Father Max Romeo. As I said, the first person ever to voice me in Jamaica. So I was there with the family about a year ago, and condolences to the family still. Feeling that
legend.
You know, he was speaking on how, you know, Fats Domino and the sounds that they were hearing, because the radio at the time in Jamaica, you could pick up the sounds from New Orleans.
Yes.
So a lot of people were listening to the blues and to the soul that was coming from the mainland. So from them time that till now, there's this, you know, there are reggae purists that like to push this narrative that there was some time when Jamaican music wasn't influenced by America, and I don't see it. I didn't mention this, but I also had a period of my life as a selector.
Okay.
Where I owned a sound system here in Boston, and so
what was the name of the song?
The song was Viral Sounds. Before going viral was a thing, because we were saying we're going to spread the music global that way. So
that diaspora experience is so similar. I used to play a song too in Toronto, so it's so interesting, the parallels of the journey. But continue.
Yeah, man, Bill Bucks and all these things. So as I looked into, like, let's say, like a John Holt, and he's singing The Girl from Ipanema and singing jazz standards and all these things, it's been a constant thing. So when we look at this generation, as you said, the trap sound, you look at the 90s, you know, Buju and Shinehead and all these people were doing hip hop. Ainai Kamosi was doing the American sound at that time.
Yes. So
for Jamaicans to be embracing the American sound of the 2020s or 2010s, I don't know why it's being treated as if it's an anomaly and not the norm.
The norm.
And when I listen to what the youths them are talking about, are there some parts where the content, as of course as a writer, as I mentioned, I got dissect lyrics different.
Yes.
And a lot of the stuff where the youth them are talk about, it's extreme, but it's extreme in the sense that what the youth them exposed to is extreme versus a few years ago. I remember when Spragga Benz and Lady Saw had a song about a specific kind of positioning, right?
Yes,
I don't know if you know which song I'm talking about,
but I mean, it's what they love. It's Lady Saw tell Spragga where she love.
Yeah, see it there. So at the time, this would have been considered controversial, but as we know, across the generation,
I'm big of Spragga, because Spragga are one of the artists we rate so highly, because you know, I'm always telling when I was in my dancehall phase, as some Spragga bands we used to, you know. So big up Spragga anyway there in there China as we're recording this. So big up yourself, Spragga, but continue.
Yeah, man. Trust me, Spragga, Red Square, maximum respect. At the same time, again, when we also have to think about in the age of, you know, the smartphone them, and so even the kinds of acts, you know, that people are viewing sexually is more extreme than one time. So when the youth them talk about certain things, like, all right, them good lady up on them phone every day, I look on them, sort me up. So what do you expect them to say? And then there's other things that
can't blame the youths.
I think what's interesting also is we're in an era where the artists, especially the male artists, are actually expressing their emotions in a way that I don't think was taking place in the past. And some look at it and say, well, this generation soft, and them have that fire there like one time. Which I do think there could be more balance in the projection of that strength.
Yes.
I think it's important also that people are expressing the vulnerability and expressing the hurt that they're feeling. As much as they're talking about shooting somebody in the next sentence, they're like, yo, I miss my dog, I miss my brother would drop out, I miss, you know what I mean? Talking about traumatic things that they've been through. So it is what it is. And if this is what's resonating with people, as far as I know, how can the message be encapsulated in a way that can reach the ones them sonically, because it's a vibration ultimately where them a pick up. So that is a mindset, and that is also what Black Revelation music is all about. Again, big up brother Sabuki. You know, we have a lot of things on the way where we are approaching the music from that standpoint of reaching, not just preaching to the choir, but touching the street level and touching the ones them that usually wouldn't receive the message.
Important work, and Sabuki, you know, this is his platform. So we're definitely going to be bringing him forward on the musical, because we have his community work. documented, but we're going to bring up the Black Revelation vibration here on the Lion Voice Network. I knew I would get a nuanced answer from the eye. That's why I asked the eye that question, because it really, you know, I didn't think about the emotional part and those things that the youths are expressing themselves, which is true. And I think though, and this is Valiant. I did a whole episode about his song "Man I Live Like Rasta," you know.
Oh gosh.
And I said my position was you couldn't blame him because as a youth, he probably grow up, you know, seeing Rastafari brethren and Rastafari artists with the Hennessy, with a bag of girls, you know what I mean, doing these things. And from his point, what I was getting from him is he's saying, I'm not dealing with the violence part of the business. I'm going to live like a Rasta. I'm going to be with my brethren them and just sex off beer girl, you know? That was his concept.
I mean, that is the average brethren. That is their definition of heaven. I mean, this why you feel like some of the jihad man them are dash with themselves. That them want to do.
Version, you see. So that is what. But I put the responsibility on us as mature adults that we have not set the infrastructure. And then the other part of it is that a lot of youths, when they see Rastafari, they see sufferation. They see, yeah, man, the Rasta go on, but the Rasta not the money, you know. And they don't want to be in a position where they don't have money, you know, because the whole culture right now is about chasing the bag, getting to the money, no matter what you have to do. That's where the scamming come in and all of these things. So everything is about getting to the bag. So I feel that if I and I, you know what I mean, can focus on commerce, the economic, and people can see, say, I can trot up in a righteousness and I can still live good. You know, I can still have a beautiful queen and I can, you know, direct the energy in a positive way. I think that it would be more attractive. How do I see it?
And there's one thing I want to say in addition, because again, I've had the blessing and the privilege. So for those who are not aware, my mentor in the music is Barry Salmon.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time around Barry's, and so one of my brothers through that association is Popcorn.
Okay.
Spent a good amount of time around Skull, and when we check it out, how the man actually live and how the dancehall man them generally live, enough of them live more like Rasta than Rasta.
Wow.
In terms of togetherness, in terms of actually linking with them one another, and there's no competition, there's no, you know what I mean, there's no suspicion amongst the collective. One them just a link, and they might not even make music, they might run boat and just live.
Okay.
So I think that there's layers to that line, man. I live like Rasta. And when I remember watching the video, and actually I noticed that there were a good handful of cameos from other artists that look and say that these are his competition, but he's viewing them as these are my peers.
Exactly.
And so we live.
And that's what I was saying, that his Rasta was associated with brotherhood and togetherness. It's just that the things so loosey-goosey that he's seeing, you know, he don't associate that discipline part of the tribe. It's just, you know what I mean, we get together with my brethren, no violence, no war.
Right.
I go sex off the girl them and drink 2 Hennessy, and you know what I mean. So that is, I think we have to do a better job in terms of what we project. I was a witness to the reggae revival, which, you know, a lot of us in the diaspora had so much hope when we saw this eruption out of Jamaica. It kind of re-energized the whole Rastafari tribe globally, you know, because we were in a little stagnation, we have to be honest, you know. When that energy came, 2026, the collective energy not so strong again. As a man that is in the music and know a lot of the brethren and sistren, what do you think happened to that energy, or do you think it's still there and I'm wrong that the power has waned? How do you feel about the reggae revival, its impact, because you lived through it? That's around the time when you were doing your millennium thing, that whole energy swept the globe. What is your assessment of the reggae revival and where it is now?
Well, I cannot speak on the inner workings,
Yes.
of the ones who are within that collective, but I will say that, as aforementioned, I think there was a lot of maybe responsibility that was placed upon the ones within that circle, that every man have to answer to the Almighty within them
Serious.
timing. So not because you bestow a title upon a one or responsibility upon a one, if they've never formally said this is what I wish to be.
Exactly.
I feel like black people have to get past this messianic thinking that we're looking for something or someone to elevate us individually or collectively. So
Yes.
as much as that was inspiring, the way that the sound has shifted since then, it's very interesting. Things move in cycles, as
Yes.
aforementioned, because before that was happening again, Gully Gaza time, that
Yeah.
entire era was kind of what it was.
It was very dark. It was very dark time before that came
Yeah.
out.
And so now, things we've gone through a dancehall era, world boss, free, things have been going a certain way the past year. I would like to say it was actually really, it was cool to witness. It was cool to witness some of the elders and the foundation setters in the dancehall finally get a certain type of run on an arena scale, like on a scale that we have not previously seen. At the same time, roots and culture has definitely been in a difficult period, and I think part of the difficulty is this: because of the algorithmic nature of music now, most of the people with the platforms and people who are the curators of the culture, we don't have as many who are leaders. There was a time when for you to be the first to bust a tune or bust an artist, it was like a badge of honor. But it seems as if now most of the man them just watch them one another and them only are gonna play what is guaranteed to be a forward for them. So them can take a video of themselves and post on them socials and look like them are, them are going with a thing versus being what the original conductors of sound systems were, which is really these were the curators of local pirate radio stations. That's what a sound system really is. This is the conduit that allows a one to circumvent the FCC and certain people who's going to tell you, no, you can't play that, or dictate to you.
And they were our A&Rs in the reggae music. The sound system played the role of artists and repertoire, for those who don't know. Cultivating the artists, as he said, bossing the artists. There was an era when every sound used to have artists who would travel with them, carry box to get their opportunity at the beginning of the dance and near the end of the dance to go up on the mic and exercise. A lot of legendary, I learned later in life that a lot of legendary moments, even sound clashes, maybe 20 people in the land, and you think it's a big summer going, and your lyrics are fly and you hear this, but that is when the artists get them chance to hone their craft. That's why the artists from that area never flop a stage show, because they perform in front of huge crowd. They perform in front of 3 people, and a lot of time we forget that there was those 3 people night where it's just the man who sweep up the beer bottle them and couple people in the land. But when you hear the cassette, you think say a stadium show. Stage shows are not holding that energy because they're not trained like one time, like you said. And why the money pull up, we have to talk about that too, because the money pull up also created a thing where you're just playing the same songs that have the stimulus package behind it, and then you're not bossing artists anymore. You just become this thing. So there's a lot of factors that have stopped the music from being what it is. Where I am, MediSun, because I was one of the founders of the Jamaica Music Conference, and really invested in the Jamaica music industry. But the more mature I get now, and the older I get now, I'm at the point where I think Rastafari have to create our own music industry. Something similar to how you would have gospel have its own kind of ecosystem that's separate from the mainstream. But what I mean? If you're in a gospel, you would know the gospel platform and all of that. It run by itself, because you're not going to hear a gospel on the radio unless, it break through. Maybe once every decade, a gospel song would break through into the mainstream. But it'll run. Same way the Latino music industry have its own, you know what I mean? So I think Rastafari, we have to, and that was one of the inspiration behind Lion Voice Network, because the platforms, when an artist is doing a press run as a Rastafari artist, where does he go? He can't go nowhere really. Nobody want to hear what he might talk about. You know what I mean? You might get a TVJ if you have 2 links, or you get a Winford, which is rare too. You know what I mean? But other than that, it's like,
if you want to talk anything of substance,
that's
and this
it.
is where, and then the other factor to take into true consideration on the other end is that these press runs oftentimes are done with the intention of getting in front of the eyes and ears of promoters.
Yes.
And where are all the festivals being held? Mostly in Europe and America.
California, yeah.
So, I, as a Rasta man now, it's as if I can no longer afford to even be the voice of the voiceless, and to even speak what is happening within the community or within the nation, because of the fear of backlash or the fear of not getting certain opportunities because you're being, as the great Peter Tosh would have said, is it too black for them?
It's true.
Maybe.
True. Self-censorship, because now you go out and then you see your audience, you're going to start making songs for that audience that is purchasing the music and thing, and that audience don't want to hear no fireburn too much, they just want to feel good, and which is necessary, but we've always had that balance, even when we look at the early reggae revival songs, some of the greatest songs, were the fiery songs, nothing make we stuck walking a room. I remember Chronics 2014, Washington DC, 2:00 in the morning, people are wait and him come out to nothing make me walk in a DC and start the fire. Tear down, I say tear down. So people, there's a market for that, but over time, we're not hearing these songs, we're not hearing repatriation as much. We're not hearing no songs glorifying His Majesty. My brethren, Ibamar, have a song, How Great Is Him, King of All Kings, John 9, Reverence. Some of these songs that, for I, as a brethren, trod in, they were putting strength into I and I trod. We never, we still are old still, but when you were hearing this from the youth, them, it's like you say, all right, no, Babylon in trouble, But now we're not hearing these type of songs.
And the tune them there, there's artists like myself, there's artists like Haile Celestial, Rastafari. There's so many young artists doing great music. But as aforementioned, are we hearing them?
No.
What are the discovery platforms? Because again, if we're going to be passive and wait for the algorithm to put these things in our hands, we're going to be waiting from now until. So I think it's a symptom of the greater malady, which is for us to take control of what we are consuming and to actively seek out that which is fruitful and that which is beneficial and that which is uplifting. And platforms like this is one of those conduits. So big up the Lion's Voice,
Give thanks. One of the biggest compliments I gave is when you say you watch the Lion Voice, not if you explain it to the eye, that was one of the greatest compliments we get, How long have you been watching Lion Voice Network?
It's definitely been more than a year. I've been tuning in and just absorbing all these amazing interviews, seeing my peers, of course, Sabuki and the ones them.
Of course.
Always a watch, man.
Give thanks. And this is why I built the platform, because when we see a young artist, for him to build a fan base, the little 2-minute interviews don't work. People want to know who are these people, and then that gets you interested in the music. And I was telling the eye offline that, for artists today, it's a different music industry. You can't just pop up on people and feel like you're gonna get that impact. You really have to build your community, your fan base. You have to feed them, you know what I mean? And they want to know what you're doing, what's your mission. If you're doing mission-driven music, they want to see the eye on the mission. They want to see, you know what I mean, you wake up, if you run up the hill at morning time, they want to see you get up and you run up the hill at morning time, you know what I mean? That inspires them. They want to take the journey with you. They want to see you in a 2-hour interview where you just a reason and them get to hear, they feel like they're in the room with you a whole apart, you know what I mean? And a reason with you. So that's why I wanted to create this platform. And I know that Rastafari, we're known for high level reasoning and high frequency reasoning, but they don't get to see that when a man go on a press run and him get a 10 minutes or him get a 5 minutes for just block some sound about in project, and you know what I mean? So even this, a lot of ones with CDI now, and they're gonna go on YouTube and just go up on a journey, a MediSun journey, and you get 2 new fans because they hear what you're about, they know the journey now, they feel like they know you a little better, you know? And that's so crucial. This is why the Lions have to tell our own story, you know what I mean? Because we can't wait for a man to give you a chance, you know? And this is, I'm looking at a Rastafari music industry where we own from the studios to the venues, to the booking, to the routing, all Rastas, you know what I mean? Because I'm looking at learning from the mistakes we made in the West, setting up this system on the continent with this 55 countries that all love reggae music. You mean to tell me that we can't create a system where we have at least one
We're leaving out places like Brazil, which is the most popular
South America. You see what I say? You're telling me we can't build a system and control it and own it, you know what I mean? So that's where my meds is right now. I've talked to people like Tony Rebel, like, there's a lot of people, Sister Masani, who have Rastafest in Toronto. I just want to get my own weight up so I can be a stronger part, so we're building our part right here with the media. But all of these things need to interconnect, you know what I mean? So that we have this system for ones like the eye. When you're ready to release a project, say you can go through a press run and hit 10 million people before you even think about mainstream. You know them way there? And you go pick up all that conversions and views and downloads along the way from people who are look for Rastafari sound, So that is Iman vision. But give thanks for the timing, King, and joining us here on the Lion Voice. I hope I know this is the eye platform. Anything with the eye doing, you have I'm on link, just link and we set it up and we make it happen, you know what I mean? Because now is the time, this is the Armageddon and all of the warriors them have to link up right now and make this push. Because as the old system dies, a new system is being born, and we are not happy with this new world order that they are creating. We don't feel like the children are supposed to tell the mothers and fathers of civilization, oh, we govern with things, you know what I mean? So we have to build that alternative. So give us some final sound, let the people know how they can support the eye movement, how they can tap in. Lion Voice family, Lion Pride family, don't embarrass I. Go to the Brethren platform and spend some money with the Brethren, make the Brethren call I and say, Brethren, we get up on my bank account, look fat because Lion Pride running for me, you know what I mean? We want that, we want to get that call there. So please give us some final sound and let the people know how they tap in and how they can.
Let's just call this an intermission. I won't say it's the final sound. It's the first of many sound.
Highly.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? The name is MediSun, not medicine. There's no sin in the operation. MediSun. I can be found at MediSun Music on all social platforms and at MediSunmusic.com as well. Anyone who wants to reach out directly, my contact info is on that website. And all I would say is be good to yourselves, be good to the people around you. You know, slow down. Don't allow the system to dictate the pace of how you're living, because presence and awareness is the greatest gift we can give to the people around us, which is really truly reverence. Because once we have reverence for the simple things around us, then we will know reverence for the Most High. Yes, I.
Give thanks and praise. There you have it. This is an intermission. We will see much more of this brethren as we collaborate. I'm looking forward to working with this brethren, meeting the brethren in the physical format too. You know, we have a whole heap of works to get done. So the network is expanding. The item are a witness Lion Pride, and it's glorious, the uprising, you know what I mean, to be an active part of the uprising, not just passive and watching, but playing a role. What is the item role? You know what I mean? Fit in, find your passion, find your purpose, and join us on the battlefield, because the battle is getting hotter, you know what I mean? And we are confident in the victory of good over evil. And we here at the Lion Voice Network will never stop. Why? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion's Voice.
Lion Voice.
Yeah. Rastafari. Emperor Haile Selassie the first. Tell the people about him breast many. Well, even if the stars they fall and the moon turn into blood, well, through the coming while we stand tall, I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start ball, cause they see the city streets and flood, but when the hurricane blow down their wall, I'll be by your side and me nah budge. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, that light was a lifeline. It seems like the world is upside down. I will never hide, I'd rather stand my ground. Lion of Judah blessed with the triple crown. Can't come fool I with no circus clown. Now fear no hurricane or the cyclone. Respect for Mama Earth with that embedded on me bone. That's why I will never leave you alone. Protect you from harm when the alarm sound. So even when the stars they fall and the moon turn into blood, to the coming war we stand tall. I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start ball, cause they see their city streets then flood, when the hurricane blow down our wall, I'll be by your side and me now budge. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your light was a lifeline. I think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. They say hurt people, maybe that's why Babylon them so evil. Maybe Babylon abused as a child. That's why them no like the light when you smile. That's why them no like how your body curve. The way how you dance get on Babylon nerve. Them no know how the Almighty you serve. Want to be a queen, so a king you deserve. And I'll be by your side when things get worse. When the city flood cause the dam just burst. When you can depend on no state or church. Firm like a Menin and Haile Selassie firm.